welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina, and today's video we are going to do a full garden tour. It is Saturday, May 14th, and so much has changed since the last tour back in April. Now, it's Saturday morning, so you're probably going to hear some lawn equipment, etc. That's just life in the suburbs. Hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. So it is hot. We have had 90-degree weather for the past week and into the foreseeable future. So lots of things have been growing, but it has not been that fun to be a gardener in the middle of the day. The mornings, the evenings, great. Middle of the day, not so much. I had big plans to get out here really early to get this done before it got hot, but well, it's Saturday and I wanted to sleep, so I'm dealing with the consequences of that decision, but it's still looking amazing out here. Just, you know, if you see me sweat, then that's what it is. It's just hot. That's Texas. Now, before we get into the content of today's video, if you like the content or you've liked some of my previous content, go ahead and hit the like on this video to help it get out to more gardeners, and subscribe to my channel if you're looking for gardening content, tours, how-tos, tips, all of that great stuff. That's what will be coming your way. So if that's something you're interested in, I would appreciate it if you give the channel a subscribe. Now, let's get into it. So we are starting the tour at the onion bed. This is the southernmost bed in my garden, and we're gonna walk south to north today so you kind of get oriented. Now, I planned it specifically this way so that the shorter things in the garden are on the southernmost end and they get taller toward the north end so that I don't have too much shading. I don't want tall things shading out short things as the sun moves across the sky. However, in our climate here in Texas and where we are located, the sun is pretty high in the sky, so even if they were casting a shadow, it wouldn't be a very long one. So in the separate beds, I don't have a whole lot of beds casting shadows on other beds anyway, but I did that in order to be safe, and just depending on where your house is positioned, what direction you're facing. My house faces north, so my backyard faces south. Then that'll depend on how you position things. But you definitely want to have, if it's possible, shorter things to the south, taller things to the north, so you're not dealing with shading unless you want to. So here is my onion bed, and these onions are still growing strong. We have lots of bulbing happening in here. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit closer for you. But lots of bulbing going on. They're getting huge, but they're all still standing up. Nothing is flopped over yet. Last year I harvested onions the first week of June, so I'm guessing it'll be around that time this year, although these are probably some different varieties. Last year I grew from onion plants. This year I started from seed, so we will see how that goes. But very excited about these onions. When these come out, I will be planting this bed full of southern peas to get another summer crop of those. So this bed that you're looking at here, this is my bed of southern peas. I have several different varieties growing in here. Zipper cream peas, I have white acre peas, and some lady cream peas. These are shelling peas. I don't know if you've ever grown them. They're related to black eyed peas, but in my opinion, the taste of them is way better. The texture is different. It's not, black eyed peas have a little bit of a gritty texture. These have more of a smooth texture, and they are just delicious. I grew up eating them when I would visit Alabama, and so it's really fun getting to grow them here because I love them so much. So that's why I'm growing this full bed of them, and when onions grow out, I'll devote that bed to them as well. But so far, I think whenever I showed you guys this a little more than a month ago, these seeds maybe had just germinated or hadn't even germinated yet, but I always direct sow them, and they are doing great. So this bed is the Brassica bed. So many wonderful things happening here. I have my garlic growing in this bed, which I absolutely am very excited about. It's my first time growing garlic ever. So I am just it's really fun to see it grow, really fun to see it do some really cool things. So I'm actually gonna pull out one of these for you because they are getting to the point where they're finishing. I'm gonna wait a little longer. Let's see if I can harvest one. It's hard to pull these out. I'm supposed to dig them. So here is a fresh bulb of garlic. Very excited. I grew this from organic grocery store garlic. I'll do a video soon when it's time to actually harvest all of these, but this one looks nice and ready because about half of the leaves are green, are brown on it. So very, very exciting. Now, other plants that I have growing here are my cabbage. It is looking amazing. It's heading up. Hopefully it finishes soon before the bugs get too crazy. I may have to cover it with some tulle. I had some caterpillars happening and I sprayed it with some BT, but I'll probably just end up covering it up. But it is beautiful. This is Savoy cabbage and golden acre cabbage, and then some red cabbage. And then on this side, I have Chinese celery. I have pak choy that went to seed. I pulled some of it out and ate it, and I left the rest so I can collect these seeds a little later. I have Chinese celery that I actually need to go ahead and harvest now because it is bolting and I want to use it. Over here, I have tall Utah celery that has not bolted yet, still growing, so I'm gonna let that go. My lettuce has bolted all of a sudden. It got hot all of a sudden, y'all. We were having a record hot spring, and lettuce was like, peace out. And then over here, I have some collards. It's getting a little bug damage. Let me move so I don't have shadow. Some collards, and I'm gonna harvest some of these as well. I have my kale, lavender, and then my spinach. What I had left has gone to seed. I need to clear that out, but I'm gonna let some of it go. Okay, so I'm still here in my brassica bed. I am gonna harvest some of these collards right here because they are out of control. I went ahead and harvested some of the celery off camera because it is so hot. My camera said it needed to cool down, y'all. So I had to take it inside for a little bit. So now I'm gonna harvest some of these collards and get those in the basket. Then we're gonna move on to the next bed. That was cucumber beetle, and I literally just murdered it with my pruners. Look at that, y'all. That is my hand, and that is this leaf. Other beautiful things going on in this brassica bed are we have thyme here. It is flowering, it is beautiful, and it's still tasty. And then lots of wasps flying around during the day as well. And then we have some zinnias, and we have nice little bees hanging out with the zinnias and the marigolds that I've planted here. Yeah. So next we're gonna turn and take a look at the strawberry bed. So this bed, I have my strawberries going. You guys have seen, maybe, I did do a video on strawberries recently, and actually just last week I planted some bare root strawberries just to fill off the bed a little bit, and those are greening up nicely. I'm gonna do a video on bare root planting just because I didn't include that in my strawberry video because I didn't have any at the time. But I've been harvesting. I've harvested, I'm gonna say at least 5 pounds of strawberries so far from this bed and from that planter right there. So very great year for strawberries. And then I also have some herbs here. You can see my mint and oregano over there on the end. And then I have some zinnias, elephant ears that really need water. They're angry, it's so hot. Mint, lots of basil that is drying out. I just watered it yesterday. I'm going to water after this video. This is all volunteer basil that seeded itself from basil that was growing here. And I also have several onions in this bed. These are from the same seeds and plants at the same age as the ones in my other onion bed, but these were in the seed starting tray a couple of weeks longer because I wasn't sure what to do with them when I decided to plant them here, so they're behind. So the bulbs on these won't get as big, but they're still onions nonetheless. They've been eating the greens and the bulbs. They won't be big, but they'll be bulbs, so it's still food. Now, I may need to harvest a few strawberries. I'm going to take a look. Set my camera down. Let's see. Here is a beautiful one. I'm learning that they are most sweet when they're all the way red, but I'm harvesting some and I'm going to put some in the freezer and make some strawberry ice cream this summer, I promise the kids. So I don't need them to be 100% the most sweet strawberries for that. Yeah, I may come out here and grab a few more a little later, but there we go. Next, we have the Determinate tomato bed. I'm going to raise the camera up for this one. Back it up so you guys get a great view. Okay, so this is what these tomatoes are looking like now. So in this Determinate bed, I have 20 different tomato plants, and I want to say about 12 varieties. Most varieties I have 2 of, some of them I just have 1 of, but they are growing up these stakes. I pruned these just a week ago, and I did a little bit yesterday, but didn't have time to finish, but they just grow so fast. They love it here, y'all, and it makes me so happy that they are doing well. This is what they look like when I first planted them versus a couple of weeks later, and now. It is insane. Just want to show you guys what these guys look like next to me. So you can have a good height comparison. I am 5'5", well, 5'4", but I say 5'5", but I'm not real short. Now, these plants have gotten so tall. If I look at this one is up to my shoulders. That's how tall they are. They've been in this ground 6 weeks. I planted these out the first week of April. It is now May 14th. Look at this growth. This is why I double stem them, because last year single stemming, they got so tall so fast, but it seems like most of them, even with 2 main stems, are still growing that tall, that fast. Insane. Now, let me give you a close-up of a few of these tomatoes. I don't have any ripe ones yet, but I definitely have tomatoes forming. It is getting to 90 degrees, and often that means that tomatoes will drop their flowers rather than producing fruit, but they're still setting fruit, and they have a lot of foliage here, so I'm not going to prune back a lot of it. I'll prune back what I need to, but I'm going to leave some of it because that's going to help shade a little bit and make it a little cooler. Have a little tomato microclimate so I can maybe get more tomatoes even when it is really, really hot. So this one right here is called a sweetheart cherry, and it is lovely. Look at those. They're shaped like hearts. I cannot wait till they turn red. They are so beautiful. I picked these just because of that shape, but they're supposed to be a really sweet variety too. Here you can see these beautiful trusses of tomatoes. Let's see. These beautiful trusses, these are the honeycomb hybrid. They're related to the sun gold tomatoes. They're super sweet like them, except they are less prone to cracking, and they are amazing. So I have lots of these coming on, and so many flowers. Look at that. I have these yellow pear in here looking amazing. Look at those guys coming on strong. And I even have some larger tomatoes coming through. So very excited about the tomatoes. Also in this tomato bed, I do have some corn. I planted a few stalks of corn, I just want to see how it goes. This is an early maturing variety, a super sweet variety. We'll see. Corn is something I've planted one time, and it hasn't really been worth it to me for the amount of space it takes up for what you get, for how cheap corn is. But I figured I'd devote just a few square feet to it, and we'll see how it goes. Let's look at these containers. Let me get a better angle. Let's just start here. All right, so here we have, this container is just herbs right here. Dill. Let's see. I have dill, I have cinnamon basil growing, and parsley. Here I have some zucchini. It is doing great, but I have already found squash vine borer eggs that I picked off today. I'm gonna spray with BT, so maybe when they hatch, those caterpillars will die before they vine into my plants, but I've mentally prepared myself to not get any zucchini or yellow squash. This is one of my ground cherry plants. It's called New Hanover, and look how sad it is. It is just thirsty. I'm gonna water it right after this. Here is another container full of herbs. Have sage, thyme, and rosemary, all doing great. Here is another ground cherry plant, and these guys are not playing. Look at that fruit. Let me lower this a bit. These ground cherries are here to play. Look at that. All this fruit setting. So we are going to have ground cherries in the next week or so, fresh, for fresh eating. Tomatillos right here. I have green and purple. They've also been blooming and starting to set fruit. It's my other tomatillo plant. They are doing great. These guys are up past my waist. Here, in this row, we have blueberries, several different varieties, all in containers so I get the right soil level on them. And they're doing great. I have some blueberries, not a huge crop, but I do have several. Here are my titans. These guys are just getting bigger and bigger. I'm gonna have to cover these with some tool or something so I make sure I get a crop. Here I have some flowers. I have some snapdragons, and some daisies, and some Johnny jump ups. You guys can probably hear my air conditioning unit because it's 90 degrees, so it is going. Here is my nectarine tree. So I do have a few nectarines in here. Oh, there's one. But maybe about 8 or 10, maybe more actually. Look in closely. Let's see. Yeah, got some in there. And there's my other nectarine tree. They're doing good. So next bed on our tour is the Determinate tomato bed. So these are my Romas. I have an early doll in there, and then I have Amish paste here at the end. Now these plants, as you can see, they look kind of wild. But I just pruned them yesterday to get any branches off the ground, so I cleaned them up quite a bit from yesterday. And now I have to finish the trellis. I'm going to Florida weave these guys, so I got to finish that up. I might even get to it this evening. If not, then tomorrow. But I also have marigolds in here. Look how beautiful they are. They're going to bring in the pollinators to the garden. And marigolds also have those beneficial nematodes that help to kill things in the garden. Something like that. Here are some zinnias that I planted in this bed as well. And they are starting to bloom and they look amazing. I love having flowers kind of mixed in. Fruit and vegetables. Some more marigolds. Marigolds get big, y'all. This is one plant. One marigold plant. So they get huge. I learned that last year. And then here I have some spicy globe basil. Look how beautiful that is. And here, this is a, I want to say this is a lime basil plant. It's still kind of tiny. I planted this a lot later when I had some extra. Do some weeding. I also have a purple basil plant that I squeezed in here. When I had extra plants, I did a plant sale, and then the extra ones I had, I just kind of found spaces for them. But I do have tomatoes in here, actually. Let me show you guys a few. There, you can see a couple aromas in there. So I have them all over. I have a couple of early dolls right there. So, getting some production. Here's that ground cherry plant. That was looking so sad. I just watered it. Look at that. Next up, we have this pepper bed, y'all. You should see this. This is what it looked like just a little bit ago when it was planted. First up, I have eggplant here. Last year, I realized that I had way more peppers than I need. I still have a few in my freezer for cooking. I'm almost out, and several jars of pickled peppers. So I knew I didn't need nearly as much this season. So I replaced some of my peppers with eggplant. I've never really liked eggplant very much, but I've learned from gardening that a lot of times it's because of the varieties in the store, and that there are varieties that I could like. So I decided to try out eggplant. I have Rosita and I have Fairy Tale. Look at these flowers. It's starting to flower. These plants were struggling at first. They were having some pest issues, but they have since recovered. And usually most plants can endure, like peppers, things like that, they can withstand some pest pressure. It's just, as long as they can get big enough, then they'll be okay. I have marigolds here. They're gonna bring in the pollinators once they bloom. They've got some nice flower buds, so they will be blooming soon, I'm sure. These are eggplant here. Look at those beautiful eggplant flowers. Those are gorgeous. Now, look at these peppers. These peppers are thigh high on me. They have gotten so tall. They were struggling for a minute there. I was worried, but they are coming back together. Look at that, a cucumber beetle. Ugh, missed it. They are everywhere, y'all. I probably am not gonna get any cucumbers, but I am gonna get some peppers. I have cayenne peppers in there. You guys see those coming through. I'm trying to dodge the wasps that are out in the middle of the day. My orange juice sweet peppers. Look at those guys. Get some beautiful peppers coming in. I even have some bell peppers that are coming in already. Look at that guy. He is huge. So things are looking nice. More marigolds. This is just 2 plants. One here, one there. Trying to take over, but they are beautiful. This is cinnamon basil. It is so delicious and it smells so good. I wish you guys can smell it. And then more marigolds. Also in this bed, I have my cucumbers. Y'all, this cucumber has taken off. I was trying to pull it up the trellis and I broke like 2 of them. So we're hoping I get some cucumber here. If I don't, it is what it is. Some gardening things you win, some you lose. This is my Armenian yard long cucumber. I've never grown this before. I'm hoping, I know it likes the heat, but I'm hoping also maybe it's a little resistant to whatever disease the cucumber beetles give it, because that's what happened to my cucumbers last year and I barely got like 3. So I'm hoping that this one does a little better, but I'm trying to aim it toward the trellis as it gets a little taller. I most likely overplanted this. Story of my life, but we'll see how it goes. All right, now this bed is my okra and watermelon bed. See, this arch trellis, the cucumber and the watermelon will grow up and down this trellis, as you can see. Also, the grass is tall over here. My husband will get out here with the weed whacker soon enough, but he's been busy, so I understand. So here on the edge I have some Genovese basil, and here is some, what is this? Lime basil. It is blooming, so I'm going to pinch off these blooms. Here I have watermelon. This is yellow crimson. Sweet watermelon. It was so good last year. They grow pretty big watermelons, but this trellis was able to support it with, you know, some stockings that I use to make little hammocks for them. But it is growing amazingly. And then here I have, it's called a Sharon Tice melon. It's supposed to be a really sweet and delicious melon, so I'm trying that out too. So that's what's growing here. This will be beautiful. It's really nice to see it already climbing up the trellis. Here I have lemon basil. If y'all can't tell, I love basil. And marigold here. And this little basil plant is volunteer because I had some basil here last year. That's a Genovese basil. I need to get a little net. Come out here and catch cucumber beetles. Here is my okra. Marigold's here on the edge, but here's the okra that I started, I want to say maybe about 4 weeks ago. I planted these seeds in the ground. I direct sow okra. To me, it's not worth it to do plants. I did plants last year, just a few weeks early because I was waiting on my bed to be finished. And the seeds I sowed in the ground, at the time I planted 3-week-old plants in the ground, outpaced them. So it's not worth it. I have several varieties. I have Okinawa pink. I have Go Big okra. I have Clemson spineless. I have red okra. Burgundy okra, so many things. I think I have some jambalaya out here if I remembered to plant it. Jambalaya okra as well. But lots of varieties of okra here. I need to come out and thin them because I don't want more than one plant in a space because I'm growing them at about 1 square foot per plant, and it makes a huge difference. So here, as you can see, I've had 3 seeds come up, so I'm gonna actually thin these and just come and chop off the extra ones. You can even see with this one where there's just one how much thicker that stalk is, and it grows way better with just 1 per square foot, but just 1 together and not 2. And that is a cucumber beetle that needs to die. They are out here. Ew, I think I actually killed it. Y'all, I do not like touching bugs with my hands, but I hate cucumber beetles so much I make an exception. But yeah, that is what's happening here. So just so you get your bearings, so this is the okra bed, pepper bed. Back behind that, the Determinate tomatoes. Behind that, the garlic and brassicas. Behind that, the field peas. And at the end, the onions. And then here, those are my indeterminate tomatoes. On the other side of them, you can't see that bed very well, but that's my strawberry bed. And the pool is over there. It's actually filling with water right now. It's getting ready. We'll be swimming by the weekend, next weekend. And then these are all the containers with the ground cherries, tomatillos, blueberries, air conditioners on both sides. That's what you're hearing. And my nectarine trees. Now is the other area of my backyard. And actually, before last spring, my backyard ended right here at this okra bed. We had a fence right here. And so this whole bed right here that you're looking at in front of you was not here because that was actually side yard. It was part of the front yard. And so we had them move the fence forward. So it's just behind the front of the house. So we can have all this extra space for gardening, which I'm very excited about because this is kind of like my perennial forest area. And that's why I have so much extra fencing, because the fence part that they took down, I kept it and I built this bed right here out of it. And I also used it for these beds, which actually I'm going to show you now, my green beans along the fence, and I'm going to use it to build a bed for my mulberry trees. So here are my green beans. I wanted a place to grow them where they wouldn't take up too much space, but I could still grow a year's worth of green beans like I did last year. And so here I have these 1 by 6 foot raised beds. I actually have a video that I'm working on for this. I just wanted to get them a little bit taller. And so then I just use string and wire to trellis them. These are yard-long beans, and so they'll grow up, and they'll grow in the heat. So they'll produce flowers and everything in the heat. And then some extra flowers I had some French marigolds and some Johnny jump ups and some green onions and basil. A lot of extra plants I had, I kind of squeezed into these beds as well. And this one is, these are Kentucky pole beans. And this one, and they're doing great. I got to finish this trellis. I just come out here in the evenings and tie a few strings, so I have not finished it yet, but they are ready for it, so I need to go ahead and finish this part. And once again, we got some flowers that I tossed in here at the last minute that were gonna die because I didn't have anywhere to put them. And then this one is another yard-long bean container. And I've got some parsley in here and some flowers as well and some basil. Haven't finished the trellis for this one yet either. And then this bed, these are Kentucky Wonder pole beans and also some Triumph Violetto. So the Triumph Violetto are the ones that have climbed the fastest. And so this one thankfully is finished. And they are starting to climb up those strings. So this is gonna be beautiful once they climb up to the top. Not to mention, I wasn't utilizing this space at all. So I'm gonna grow my year's worth of green beans, because when these are done, because you know, green beans don't grow forever. They grow, you know, 4 or 6 weeks or so. Once they finish, then I'm gonna pull them out and plant more. And so I'm gonna grow definitely a year's worth of green beans in this area for my family. So now with the fruit trees, let's start here. Sorry about the air conditioner sound, y'all. These are plum trees. Yeah, these were just sticks when I planted them, and they are growing amazingly. I'm very excited. I'm going to tie some of these branches down though, so they grow a little more horizontally, so that they have more fruiting buds. I plan to keep these trees very small, so I might chop them down a little bit. I was afraid to before because I didn't know if it would grow branches. These are my apple trees. I have a Fuji and a Granny Smith apple, both varieties that we love. Coming this way is the gooseberry plant. I saw some blooms and some fruit forming earlier in the season, but now I don't see them. It was very few and close to the center of the plant, so I don't know a whole lot about gooseberries and how they produce. So I'm just gonna let it grow, and I'm sure we'll get fruit on it eventually. But it does have thorns, so I'm gonna find another spot for it. These are my peach trees. They are looking great. And when you plant them like this with two really close to each other, you almost treat them like one tree. So I'll prune it with like an open center, almost as if it's one tree with two trunks. But yeah, it's a red skin and a harvester. Both varieties I picked out specifically because of the area that I live in. And then my cherry trees, my lapins and my Stella. None of these, the Stella and the lapins actually had 1 or 2 blooms on them this year because I got these plants last summer, late in the summer. But the other trees, the nectarines, I mean not the nectarines, the peaches, the plums, and the apples, they're not going to produce this year. But they're putting on a lot of growth. That's the goal. Put on a lot of growth and fruiting wood so that they can give me a crop next season. Now here are the blackberries. Y'all, these blackberries, I mean, look at them. Now I'm gonna have to cover them because the birds have found this guy. But look at this blackberry. Look at my hand and look at that berry. They're so big. These are Primark Freedom. That's the only variety I have here. They're thornless and primocane fruiting, which means they fruit on first-year canes and second-year canes. So this huge crop that we're seeing in here, most of these are coming on last year's canes. But they will continue to fruit throughout the season on this year's canes too. So like most of this growth, this tall growth that you've seen here, all of this grew this year. And so these guys will fruit in the fall and throughout the summer. And then after they overwinter, they'll give me the early crop, the spring crop as well. And then I can prune those back. So if you haven't gotten blackberries and you're considering them, I recommend, well, this Primark Freedom's great. I'm sure it'll differ based on where you live, but I recommend you get primocane fruiting berries because then you just get 2 harvests from your canes rather than just 1. But they are doing great. Tons and tons of fruit on here already, and I'm expecting more throughout the season. I've got some black ones here. but I want to give them a day so that they get really sweet. More blackberries. Now here are my raspberries. These plants I just got over the winter / fall. They were both really short sticks. You know, I was really scared they were going to be nothing. But as you can see, this is a Caroline red and a double gold. And I've already eaten a red raspberry off of this plant. But look, they're already fruiting. These are also primocane fruiting varieties. But these are not thornless like my blackberries. But look at those buds. That one, the double gold hasn't given me any flowers yet. But I'm sure it will eventually, maybe in the fall. I also planted out, this is where the beets were. I might throw some zinnia seeds here for now until fall. And then here I have some parsley, basil, some orangey sweet peppers, a Thai basil, another orangey sweet pepper. This is where I put some of my extra plants. And this is an herb, and I just don't remember what it was. My friend Jess gave it to me. And then purple basil out there. And lastly, guys, look at my muscadine vines. This is 2 vines. They are growing in containers on this trellis that I built using 2 8-foot cattle panels and some U-posts. And last time we toured, there were barely any buds. But now, this is a cowart, supposedly. We'll see. And it is loaded with flower buds, y'all. They are everywhere. And this is a self-fruitful variety, so y'all, we're looking at the future fruit. Muscadines don't, you know, ripen until the fall. But yay, I'm excited about these. I'm gonna have to cover this whole thing with tulle. But so many fruits or flower buds on this guy. And then over here's my fry muscadine. I just started seeing, I mean, this is vigorous. But I just started seeing flower buds. I have a couple. Now I'm hoping that it finishes putting them on soon, because this one is not self-fruitful. See, look, there's one. It's not self-fruitful. So I need these buds to be ready at the same time as those buds so that that cowart can pollinate this one. This fry needs the pollinizer. So hopefully I get more soon. But look at that. It looks so green, it looks fake. And here are my 2 mulberry trees. They are doing amazing, but they are waiting for their forever home. They're waiting for me to build them this raised bed out of this wood I have over here so that they can be a little more comfortable. But right now they're doing great. They're dwarf ever-bearing mulberries. So here is one of my pear trees. It looks okay, but there are some spots on here, and my neighbors are having a party, so you can hear music, and I don't know what that is, so we'll see. And I hit them with maybe some copper fungicide or something on some of the leaves. So if you know what that is, definitely comment below. But yeah, this has 1 pear on it, but it didn't have a lot of bloom, so it's an Asian pear tree. And then it has a buddy over here. Hedges need to be trimmed. Here are my rose bushes. And French marigolds I grew from seed here as well. My zinnias and coleus that I also grew from seed. They need water. Get out here to them later. French marigolds, these are snapdragons, haven't bloomed yet. Some zinnias. these beautiful zinnias and French marigolds and coleus. All of these flowers, y'all, I grew from seeds. Save you some money. These are daisies, I think. And then more marigolds, snapdragons. And I also, in these blank spots, actually planted some caladium bulbs, so hopefully they come up soon. And then more zinnias and French marigolds. Once the caladiums come up, it's gonna be beautiful. My rose bushes I planted last year. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you found the content entertaining or helpful or inspirational. It's interesting getting out here shooting on these really hot days, but I've learned my lesson. I'm gonna get up early from now on when I need to do a video. But either way, if you enjoyed this content in any way, I would really appreciate it if you'd click the like button to help this video get out to more gardeners, and also subscribe to my channel so that you never miss another garden update. And of course, you can look forward to other garden tours, tips, tutorials, everything garden related on this channel. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Now, until we meet again, thank you.